welcome back to day 3 of Discount Travel Secrets. Today's topic is going to be on lodging. First, we want to go through our goal for this course. By the end of this course, you will have an understanding of each sector of the tourism industry and how to maximize discounts in each one. Yesterday's assignment was to take your top trip from your bucket list and go through and find out what the transportation costs would be of getting there and back and transportation you would need during that trip. And to go through that through your own way that you would normally do it, and then try it with all the different recommendations that we had in the course and do a price comparison. Another thing you can also do from yesterday's assignment is looking at your bucket list, maybe ranking each thing of which ones are going to be the cheapest ones transportation wise. So that way you're already saving money right off the bat because you know that you can drive there, or you know that getting around, you can walk around, or there's some sort of free transportation once you're there. Okay, so now we're going to get into lodging. I don't know why it says Eleanor Roosevelt on the slide. I think at one point I might have had a quote on there and the quote part got deleted, but not her name. So what is lodging? The lodging sector is anywhere that you are going to sleep overnight during your trip. So hotels, motels, bed and breakfast, homestays, hostels, campgrounds, resorts, and even staying with friends and family counts as your lodging. Some of these can even be broken down into further subsectors. So like campgrounds, are you talking about tent camping or staying in an RV or in a cabin or a yurt or any other like glamping? There's so many things that could fall under this category. So why is lodging important to our topic is that this is another one. It can be a really low expense for you, or it could be your biggest expense. Some people like to splurge on the hotel and spend the time exploring their resort, or they just like to have the nicer amenities. Other people are like, let's stay at the cheapest place because we're not going to spend time there anyway. So everyone has their own preferences, and where you travel can also, again, determine if this is going to be a big or a small expense. So when we go visit family, we're staying with family, so we know, that's a couple $100 a night that is now freed up to something else. I do have another disclaimer here on this slide that remember, cheap is not always the best, and lodging is one of the best examples for this. Just because you're going to somewhere like New York City where you can't find a hotel room for less than a few $100s a night, but you find this one that it's like $150. So it's like more than you would normally spend, but it's a steal compared to everything else in New York. Look into the reviews of this place, or maybe where it's located, or the conditions of the room, because there's likely a reason it's that much cheaper than everything else. With accommodations, I don't always recommend the absolute cheapest thing. There's a certain level of quality that's usually expected, and everyone has a different bit of a comfort level for that too. But we can also use Hawaii as another example since I've been using it throughout this course. So again, Hawaii was always number one on my bucket list as a kid. And even if you spent the $5,000 to fly there from Ohio, you still have to find a place to stay. And even when I lived in California and it was only going to be like $400 each to fly from California to Hawaii, you still had to find a place to stay. And Hawaii has a lot of beautiful resorts with lots of amenities. So it's not really known as like a cheap destination to stay in. People tend to splurge on their resorts a little more here. So when I looked around, I was never finding anything that was less than $250 a night, especially once you add in like resort fees and taxes. And I never pay that much to stay anywhere. Like really $150 is our limit. And with our either timeshare points or Hilton Friends and Family rates and stuff, we tend to only spend about $80 a night on hotels with our discounts. And even like when we go camping, that's like $30 a night. So if our normal budget is, $100 and everything in Hawaii is more than $250, like that's significantly higher. On the side here, I even have a list of all the places that we've stayed for these prices. And you can see that even New York City is on there, and Yellowstone, Orlando, Key West, Tampa, San Diego, Vegas, Napa, all kinds of stuff. And this is a pretty old list too. Like this list, I want to say would be from 2022 or 2023. So there's a ton more that we could even add to this list that fits this budget. So if you're finding ways to travel that you're spending less than $100 a night on your accommodations, just about anybody can have that for a travel budget. So you can at least at a bare minimum, like if you think that you don't have enough money to travel and that's why you're taking this course because you want to go somewhere, you just don't even have like $500 to go somewhere, go tent camping or cabin camping where it's, $80 for the night, and go somewhere that's just a couple hours away for one night, and you can even cook your own food there, and then you can enjoy wherever it is that you're camping. That's like free entertainment, going on hikes or fishing or something and building a bonfire, and you can have a whole like 24 or 48 hour getaway for less than $250. So I've already explained a little bit, but now getting into this officially. So how do you unlock the lodging discount travel secrets? And here is our first tip. So the obvious thing is stay where you can stay with friends and family. That's free lodging is the cheapest lodging you're going to get. So wherever is free, travel there. For us, what was super convenient when we lived in California, my sister lived in San Antonio and then my family was in Orlando. So we could drive to San Antonio. That's like the halfway, like almost literally the halfway point. We could stay with her for free. And then once we get to Orlando, stay with family for free. Now, most of the time we stay in our timeshare so we can try out different resorts, but we have the option to stay with family for free. And then also all the times that we were going from California to Ohio, we were staying with family for free. We were not paying for hotel rooms. And if you feel like you're freeloading by doing that or like scamming the system, you can offer to get them groceries or give them a gift, in exchange for hosting you so that it's not, completely free. And also don't be like too gung-ho about oh, I can travel anywhere I want for free and my friends and family will just let me stay. And as long as you're not like a nuisance or annoying or like being pushy, go for it, but don't like overstay your welcome. The next cheapest option, so the free option, friends and family. The next cheapest is tent camping, and it's honestly not expensive to even get the equipment. To get a tent is cheap to begin with, but then if you just get like an air mattress or sleeping pads, and then you get just, you already have pillows and blankets and stuff, so you could use your own. And then, camping chairs. It's really not, I would say it's probably the price of 2 or 3 nights of a hotel room to get camping equipment. And our camping equipment we've had since 2020, and we've taken it on numerous road trips and even used it in the backyard. So if you treat it well, it also lasts a while. So it's not super much of an upfront investment, and you can use it for a long time. So for tent camping, we recommend KOAs. They are all over. They're each like independently owned, but because they're part of the same group, you can join their rewards program that gets you a discount on all of your stays. But what's nice about tent camping is most of the time it's less than $30 a night. The most we've ever paid is $80, and that was at like Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore when they were completely packed. And so then if you factor in your price of the equipment and how cheap it is per night, after 1 or 2 weekends, it's paid for itself over the price of a hotel room. And also, even the times that we did pay like the $80 for a tent camping site versus $30, the only alternative was like national park lodges that were $400 a night. So $80 to camp in a tent was well worth, not having to spend $400 for a lodge. You can also do this at state parks and national parks. We've camped at national parks before. I think we did one that was like $25 and there's no like added fees to it or anything like that. Some of them are also free campsites. Sometimes they're first come, first serve. Sometimes you can reserve for free in advance. It just kind of depends on where you're going. If tent camping is not the vibe for you, you can also do an RV or cabin stays. Most KOAs also have cabins and yurts and glamping cabins and all kinds of stuff like that. And most of them are still cheaper than hotel rooms. We did this when we moved from California to Ohio. We actually stayed in cabins at KOAs, and they let us put our moving truck in an RV spot for free because it wasn't busy at the time. And then we stayed in the camping cabin, and the camping cabins were less than $100 a night. So it was cheaper than a hotel room, and we were able to have our moving truck like right there in front of us. If we had to rely on hotels, we would have been paying more money, and we wouldn't have been able to guarantee that there was a place to put the truck. Like we might have to park it on the side of the street or, something crazy. So it was just a convenient situation. And for people that don't like tent camping, the cabins are also still pretty cheap. Also, something that's mentioned here too that I didn't even mention in a previous lesson, but depending on how you're traveling, like if you're traveling with friends, all these things are also potentially being split between different households. So if it's your own family, like you're probably the one person paying for everybody, so there's not really any way to break down that cost. But if you're doing something with a bunch of friends, if you're flying, everyone's paying individually for themselves. But then if you choose to like drive and like road trip somewhere, you all get to split those costs, making it even cheaper. For RVs specifically, I also really recommend signing up for Harvest Hosts. It's a $79 a year membership fee, but then you get to stay at all the places for free. And most of the time, it's like wineries, breweries, farms, just things that are like a little more rural that just have empty space. And you can just make a reservation and stay there. The only thing is, most of the time, I think 99% of the time, you need to have your own, I think, water, maybe like generator. I'm not sure. I think it depends on where you're at. But I think the main thing is being self-contained as far as needing like a bathroom. Then you're good to go. I just saw this a couple weeks ago when I was in Florida. I went to the Summer Crush Winery there on the Treasure Coast, and I saw RVs in the back, and I was telling my mom like, "Oh, there's this whole program." And then when we were doing the wine tasting on the bar, they had an advertisement, and I was like, "Oh, see, they're in this program." Like that's it's hundreds of places that do this. Okay, so if the rustic stuff is not for you, like you're not gonna stay with friends and family, no part of camping sounds interesting to you, and you just want to stick to like hotels and resorts and, regular accommodations like that, we still have some tips on how to save money on those as well. Really, the best way is to work in the hospitality industry. And this doesn't mean you have to be in a customer service type position. You can work in sales and marketing and accounting and be the manager, all these kinds of things, and you all still get the same benefits. So I used to work front desk for Hilton, and most of their brands, you could get the team member rate was like $35 a night, or higher tiered could be 40 or 45. I stayed at the Waldorf Astoria in Beverly Hills for $188 one time, and those are usually 800 plus dollar hotel rooms per night. I've also done the La Quinta Resort in Palm Springs for $75 a night, and that obviously costs a lot more too. So that really helped us out in a lot of our trips as well. So when those early road trips that I was talking about, like all of our California stuff, we were driving. So that was cheap. Our hotel rooms only cost us $35 to $45 per night. And then we were doing activities that did not cost a lot of money. And then really food, we could either splurge or do cheaper, but not just fast food. So working in the industry will get you a lot of benefits. Same with when I worked at Disney, we got discounts on Disney hotel rooms. When I worked for Trafalgar, I did guided vacation sales. We would be able to go on their trips, which accommodations are included for those too. And this slide is where I go into the story about working front desk and for Hilton. The other thing too is when you're doing that, you're earning rewards so much faster. So I was the highest tier of the Hilton Rewards program, so diamond level, pretty quickly, like definitely less than a year from working there. So then the higher tier level you are, the more points you earn. And because it was so cheap, I was earning them faster and getting more free nights quicker. So it all just like kept feeding into the same cycle. And here I even have more examples. We stayed at one of the Hilton resorts on the beach in Santa Barbara on a weekend night for less than $100. And we've done that in San Diego. We've done that in Napa. We did that in Orlando for my grad school graduation. We stayed at one of the Hilton resorts that's in the Bonnet Creek area of Disney. And I was able to use my team member rate for my room and then friends and family rate for additional rooms for the rest of the family, because it was like all my mom, my grandparents, some of my siblings were all there. And also, like I mentioned, the rewards programs. Every portion of this course is going to talk about rewards programs because this is how you get free stuff and cheap stuff. So being in the higher tier, I was also selected more frequently for upgrades. Okay, my phone rang, so I just forgot where it was. But so with the rewards programs, I was able to get to the highest tier. And I have a freebie on one of my other blogs that talks about how to get free room upgrades when you travel. And one of the tips on there is that being a rewards member helps you get chosen, because most of the time it's a logistical reason and they need someone that's staying for like 1 or 2 nights to be shuffled around somewhere. So they're going to look at who's the highest tiered rewards member. That's the person that's going to get the upgrade, unless someone comes in and asks before they're able to do that. But 99% of the time, that's going to be a factor in it. Hotels.com is another good rewards program because they have one that every 10 nights you earn a free night. So that's good because with Hotels.com, that's an aggregate site. You can book across all the different brands. So if you don't do Hilton or Marriott, you can stay anywhere and everywhere. They have some, restrictions on their thing, but in general, every 10 nights you get a free night, and that's quicker than with Hilton. And Hotels.com also has cheaper options and some of the cheaper brands that are still pretty good quality. It's not all kind of junky motels. So that is mainly it for how to save money on lodging. And we have another activity, assignment, whatever you want to call it, that you can go through in your workbook. There are some reflection questions to go through in there. And then I also, part of the assignment, sign up for the rewards programs that you think are ones that you are going to use and will help you out. Some of them are paid, so don't, just rush to pay for something that you're not sure you're going to use. But at least all the free stuff, make sure you have your bases covered for those. Sometimes they also have bonuses for signing up, so take a look at that as well. And then we have the discussion section here as well. It says, let us know which destination you're most excited about and which lodging rewards program you decided to join. And then also, if you have any other questions, you can always post questions in the discussion too. Okay, I also have the note here about Eleanor Roosevelt being on the slide. I don't know why. That's one of the discussions. But then I also have our favorite accommodations resource to save money on travel, and this is an affiliate link here. And then you can add, any of the things I mentioned before, and I'll also show you the workbook really quick. We'll jump over there. Okay, so the day 3 assignment. Think about if you have any friends or family that live in a different town than you. Make a list of any that you think you might want to visit and might be able to stay at their house. Be sure to also jot down where they live so you have an idea of like some destinations in mind. The next is camping. Are you open to camping? Are you more comfortable if it's RVs, tents, cabins, or yurts, or glamping? And if you answer yes to any of those, check out KOA.com and join their loyalty program. If you're an RVer, check out Harvest Hosts. And you can also just look at national parks, state parks, county parks. Those have a ton of things as well. And that is it for this lesson. I will see you in the next one.